15 to 20% of everyone's time, not just the recruiting team, everyone's time invested into recruiting. And I think that's first and foremost the commitment you need to make if you really truly want to believe into finding the best talent. But then also, I think the other piece around recruiting is taking the pain of an open position that you urgently need. Everyone knows that as soon as we have a position open, we want to fill it as soon as possible because it's already probably urgent 12 months ago and we just haven't realized it. But really being able to avoid that kind of urgency bias, as I would call it, and continue to, if you don't find the right candidate, continue to push and wait until you found that. I think that would be probably one of the key learnings I would give to folks.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the SaaS Revolution show brought to you by SaaStock, the conference that helps SaaS companies get traction, growth and scale. I'm your host Alex Theuma, and I'll be looking at what it really takes to build and grow a SaaS company today and how founders and entrepreneurs stay healthy on the journey. Now on with the show.
Welcome to the SaaS Revolution show. I'm your host Alex Theuma. We are live here at SaaStock 2022. Great to be back in Dublin. We've got a live audience and also we're recording the podcast for our subscribers and listeners. I'm delighted to be joined today by Hanno Renner, who is the CEO and one of the co-founders of Personio. Let's welcome Hanno to the stage. Welcome, Hanno.
Thanks, Alex. Great to be back on the show, but also back here at SaaStock.
Yeah, it's amazing to be back. It's great to see you as well, and like in person. I think, well, it's probably since 2019 that we last saw each other in person at the last SaaStock, and so again, one of the benefits or the wonders of having a conference is reconnecting with friends, with people, the relevant community, and we're just so thankful to be able to do that again. So it's great to be back. So Hanno, I've had you on the podcast a couple of times. You're I guess a big favourite, at SaaStock. Now we're doing this episode. I always ask who is the guest, right? And maybe some of the people don't really know you, so we do want to kind of know who you are, but also who is Hanno Renner 2022 version. So tell us.
Yeah, so name's Hanno, co-founder and CEO at Personio. We are an HR platform for SMEs and essentially digitizing the entire employee lifecycle from recruiting, managing, and developing employees. And we've been starting the company at a similar time when you started SaaStock 2016 and grown things all across Europe, including 7 offices across the continent. I'm just coming from our Dublin office straight to here. And the 2022 version of Hanno Renner, I think, well, as a founder, you always grow with the company, you always try to adapt with the needs of the company. And I think that's what's been shaping me over the last couple of years, and that's where I try to continue to adapt for all the challenges. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about in the next couple of minutes as well that are facing us in 2022.
And you've been to all the SaaStocks. I think as we just had a quick chat about there, we met at B2B Rocks initially, and then the first SaaStock was, several months after that, and that was in 2016. Can you give the audience an understanding of like how big Personio was in 2016 when we met, and then that growth trajectory to where you are now, what the company looks like now?
Yeah. So I think when we met in 2016, it was either right before or right after closing our seed round. I can't fully remember, but summer 2016 we closed our seed round. So we were bootstrapped for around 1 year, growing the business to around, I think, 30K of MRR. Today that would be a Series B probably. At that time, it was just about when we raised the seed round. We were around 5 people on the team, growing profitably at the time, but then decided that we wanted to accelerate and had just raised a 2 million seed round, with which we then continue to invest into the product and into expansion for further customers.
Cool. And so today, last year we did SaaStock EMEA online, and I think you spoke at that. You just raised was it Series E or Series F? Is it E?
E, yeah.
E. And there was a valuation of 7.7 billion, something like that at the time.
Last year was 6.5, and I think this year 8.4, 8.3.
8.3 billion. So, and then so give the audience a picture. I think when we did first meet, you, Personio was a 4-person company. I think it was you and the 4 co-founders.
Yeah.
SaaStock was like a 3-person company. and you've grown a little bit faster than us, but it's fine. It's fine.
If you count attendees with as employees, then we're kind of at a similar scale.
Exactly. But let's not talk about revenue either. All right. What about just a couple of key lessons then that you've learned? Let's say from 2016 to now, in terms of like growing and scaling Personio that you can share.
Yeah. So I think the key lessons. I mean, we as an HR platform strongly believe that people are the most important success factor of every company. That's why we support our customers in any phase of their journey with our platform, but also internally, of course, have a very high focus on finding right people, developing those people, and really building a strong culture. And I think really on that core learning that would probably be the easiest and the most transferable to everyone here listening to this podcast is focusing on recruiting the best talent. I think it's very easy. Everyone says that, but what that really means is that you need to have the commitment to spend a lot of time across the business, including yourself as a founder. I spend around 20% of my time recruiting across the business. We once made kind of an analysis, and also 15 to 20% of everyone's time, not just the recruiting team, but everyone's time invested into recruiting. And I think that's first and foremost the commitment you need to make if you really truly want to believe into finding the best talent. But then also, I think the other piece around recruiting is taking the pain of an open position that you urgently need. Everyone knows it. As soon as we have a position open, we want to fill it as soon as possible because it's already probably urgent 12 months ago and we just haven't realized it. But really being able to avoid that kind of urgency bias, as I would call it, and continue to, if you don't find the right candidate, continue to push and wait until you found that. I think that would be probably one of the key learnings I would give to folks.
So 2022, apart from being a great moment, let's say, because we're back here, but actually it's been a funny year, right? I mean, in a bad way, right? We've got the Ukraine war, the end of the pandemic, or still sort of like looming, recession, as well. And we know that kind of like in May, there was like VC memos to a lot of their hyper growth companies that were not yet profitable, and in terms of like, guys, we need to go make changes, and it's not about growth at all costs anymore. And if you're not profitable, we need to kind of make some changes. So whether we're in a recession or whether it's kind of looming, what is the viewpoint, that you see and the strategies that you're kind of implementing to help Personio win, over the next kind of 12 months and the seeing kind of headwinds that we're facing?
Yeah. So I think in the first half of this year, since kind of even before the war in Ukraine, but accelerated by that, we've mainly, of course, seen a slump in public markets, and that has trickled down to the private markets in terms of investing. That in itself is not yet really impacting the economy by itself, but it's just that there's different valuations being paid and some of that. And I think that's mainly relevant, of course, if you currently want to raise a round and so on. We're luckily, with hundreds of millions in the bank account, we've raised enough capital that we can not just continue to grow for many years, but also become profitable within that. So we're very independent from that part of just the financial markets, which I acknowledge many founders that currently looking to raise or require capital have a little bit of a different viewpoint on. But that's something which for me is much less important. So we really have the capital to continue to invest in our customers, in our team, and so on. I think the part that's more interesting, and we're starting to see signs since the middle of the year, and there kind of is that piece around the recession in the real economy. So cost of capital getting more expensive, supply chains still being blocked, energy crisis going up, the inflation overall, all of these factors, of course, like looming, and with many of them we don't know exactly how they pan out, but they definitely kind of impact consumer behavior. With consumer behavior, I'm specifically also talking about biased behavior of software in companies. So what does this mean? I think it means that there's a much higher scrutiny around ROI in making decisions when people buy new software. There's much more involvement of more people, many more hoops that decision makers in companies need to jump through to be able to be allowed to buy new software and or even just keep renewing existing stuff. And then I think it comes down to what does your customer do for your software do for your customers in the current, and how does it relate to the current environment, where things like efficiencies, cost saving, and so on gets much more important than maybe other things in the previous years. For us, we're lucky in a place that Personio not just is a fundamental part of the infrastructure of our customers with kind of all the payroll and all the other important things they continue to need to do, where we have very little worry about churn in the existing customer base. Additionally, we also continue to see Personio drive efficiencies for customers in many ways of how they create documents, how they run their time off processes, and many other people-related processes that they anyway need to do in a more efficient way. So that also plays into the range. So, of course, a lot of the playbook for us is continue to emphasize this message, make our customers clear how much ROI they're actually getting in the short term from implementing Personio. And hence we're seeing continued demand from existing and new customers in our software, but also, of course, being cautious about some of the sales cycles taking longer. Some of the way we need to sell to customers is a little bit different. And I think these are some sort of more tactical adaptations we need to be taking to make sure that first and foremost we kind of continue to support our customers, build the right solution for them, but also continue to grow significantly as a business even in that phase.
Moving on to the quickest shot fire round, what would you say is the hardest thing about being a SaaS CEO?
The hardest thing about being a SaaS CEO, so I think first and foremost as a CEO of any kind of business, there's always the thing that you don't really have any peers in a business. You have your investors you can work with, and then you have your executive team, but you're like ultimately a lot of, like, especially in these difficult times where sometimes decisions being made, like you consult with a lot of people, but ultimately you need to make the call, and that's not always easy, especially in an environment of uncertainty. I think that's a challenge, not very specific to SaaS, but definitely to being a CEO.
What about the best advice you've ever received?
I think one of the best advice I've ever received was from Lars Dagard, one of our advisors, founder of SuccessFactors, and he once said a very simple but powerful thing by saying, "Never lie to yourself." And it sounds like initially like why would I lie to myself? I'm an honest person to others. Like I'm also not going to lie to myself. I'm like smart enough to look at things, but it actually is pretty true that a lots of times, just by human nature, you look at certain data, you look at trends, you kind of making things, oh yeah, this looks good, or you're focusing on this, and you kind of trying to paint yourself a story about something that maybe isn't fully true. And I think that's a really easy thing to do, and I think that's something which is really important that you're constantly evaluating. Are we really being true to ourselves? What are we seeing here in the data from how customers using our product? Is this new feature we're launching actually getting the results we're hoping for, or are we just continuing to invest behind it and talk about it because we really were convinced strategically that's the right thing to do? And so, yeah, never lying to yourself is I think, really important.
You've had a lot of success and hyper growth, but what is the biggest failure or sort of mistake that you made and lesson learned along the way?
So I think one of the biggest challenges, if you're a company like ourselves that started in one market, got fairly successful in that market, then start to expand in other markets, making sure that you're recognized in the team and in the company that newer markets have different dynamics, and it's sometimes easy to think, oh, the conversion rates and the product story and so on that we've seen in Germany will just directly translate to the next market, and it automatically will just work. But similar how we needed to figure that out early on in one market, we need to do the same in a new market. So just continuing to recognize and not underestimate that every market is different, every customer environment is different, and making sure we adapt to it rather than trying to copy paste what we do in other markets and what made us successful there.
What does your daily routine look like?
Daily routine. So privately try to do a lot of sport, usually in the mornings, if I can. Also do like a 15-minute meditation in the morning, just kind of being, while you don't have too much stuff in the mind, calming yourself down. But then mainly being in the office from 9 a.m., checking in with my direct team in the CEO office to make sure we have the right priorities for that week top of mind. But then, of course, working lots with my exec team and other people in the business to understand what's going on and how we can drive most value to customers in any given week.
And now at your, I don't know, 5th or 6th SaaStock, but I mean, you've been to all of them. What are you looking forward to the most, and what are you speaking about as well?
So I think that the power of conferences generally is the connection with other founders, and while I'll probably have some random encounters, also meet with a couple of fellow founders and have meetings lined up for later. And then I think I have a panel with Michiel later on, one of our board members on stage. I'm not sure exactly what he'll be asking me again, but I think it'll be a lot about the notion of like when scaling from 100 million to $1 billion ARR, what are the things to keep your growth rates up? How do you continue to grow the business? We're now 1,500 people, growing that further into the multi-thousands effectively, and keeping the organization scaled. I think those are a lot of the challenges we'll be looking at too.
Very good. Well, looking forward to that. Thanks so much, Hanno Renner, for being a great guest on the SaaS Revolution show today, and enjoy SaaStock 2022.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the SaaS Revolution show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you learned something from it, check out SaaStock.com/events to find all the upcoming SaaStock conferences around the world.
Want exclusive SaaS content and actionable insights to grow your SaaS? Join our community of over 36,000 SaaS founders at SaaStock.com.